My name's Katie. I've been married for 2 years, and life with my husband Otto has been fairly enjoyable. Otto, the second among his brothers, is an easygoing and cheerful guy with many friends.
Do you think we should bring a gift for the in-laws, since your brother and his wife live with your mom? Should I prepare something special?
Why? It's not necessary, right? They live together after all.
When I asked about a gift for the marriage introduction visit, Otto's unhelpful response made me a bit anxious. But I decided to research and prepare something myself. Upon our arrival for the introduction, Otto's mother, Briar, greeted us at the entrance with a warm smile. As she led us to the living room, I felt a sudden urge to use the restroom, so I excused myself, passing by the kitchen on my way. Unnoticed, I overheard Briar, who had just followed my sister-in-law into the kitchen to make coffee, speaking in a completely different tone.
Look at this! The gift she brought? Seems like something you could buy just anywhere. Did she think bringing two would seem thoughtful? Kids these days really lack common sense.
Hearing this left me stunned. I quietly returned to the living room, making sure Briar didn't realize I had overheard. She soon followed me, smiling and thanking me for the gifts. If only I had trusted my instincts, then maybe I could have avoided some pain. But love is blind. Being deeply in love with Otto, and since our workplaces and planned home were far from his parents' house, I naively thought everything would work out. For a while after our marriage, our days were peaceful. We decided to wait on having children until our finances, which had dipped due to wedding expenses, recovered. So we prioritized our hobbies, enjoyed movie dates, and relished our lives as a couple. My interactions with my mother-in-law were limited even during extended weekends, and I had no issues with her. In fact, I had almost forgotten about the incident during the greeting visit. She always seemed kind, treating us with delicious meals and a friendly demeanor. I even admired her.
I don't have any siblings, so I'm envious. You seem really close. I do have any siblings, so I'm envious.
They're okay, I guess. We used to fight back in the day.
Yeah, like this one time. I broke his stuff. He wouldn't speak to me for ages.
That was in my 3rd year of middle school. It was a rebellious phase.
Did you eventually make up?
One day, I came back from club activities to find a lunchbox with a note saying, "I'm sorry, let's talk."
Right? I heard that in 6th grade, people make lunchboxes for their crushes in cooking class. So I asked Mom to teach me, and I made one.
Being apologized to like that by a younger brother, how could I not forgive him? Isn't that a bit sneaky?
Brother-in-law said this with a laugh, but the sentiment of a cherished memory was palpable.
If we ever fight, maybe I should have Otto make me something.
We all laughed together, and I didn't even notice that my sister-in-law wasn't there. I thought everything was going well with my seldom-seen mother-in-law, and Otto and I, despite our busy schedules, made sure to align our days off, at least once a month, maintaining a good marital relationship. One day, Otto called to say he'd be late due to overtime and didn't need dinner. I decided to treat myself to some gourmet takeout, a bit pricey for a single serving, and returned home feeling excited about enjoying some alone time. As I approached my apartment, I noticed a figure standing at the entrance.
Briar?
There she was, my mother-in-law Briar, looking grumpy and holding bags in both hands.
I should have called before coming, but it was a bit of a sudden decision.
Upon noticing me, Briar's face softened into her usual kind expression. Surprised by her hesitant demeanor and unexpected visit, I nonetheless smiled and opened the door for her.
It seemed to be warming up, but it gets chilly after dark, Briar commented.
Hastily, I turned on the heater and cleaned up the shower room.
Briar, why don't you take a shower first?
As I offered, I remembered that I only had enough food for one and felt a bit uncertain about what to do. Approaching Briar, she remarked, "This looks delicious. Is it a ready-made meal? Don't you usually cook?" Her tone felt a bit judgmental considering she had turned up unannounced and now was scrutinizing my purchase. I was taken aback by her attitude. My real worry, though, was about the large bag she brought. I was hesitant to ask, but felt I needed to. With that in mind, I decided to ask.
Otto said he'd be late due to work and didn't need dinner. But Briar, are you planning to stay overnight?
Her previously kind demeanor vanished, replaced by a sly look.
Oh, you seem displeased. Well, isn't it obvious from the luggage? I'll be staying for a few days.
she said, tapping her bags. After Briar went to use the shower, her words about staying for several days echoed in my mind. Despite Otto saying he was busy, I knew I had to inform him about her sudden visit and her plan to stay. I called Otto to tell him about Briar's arrival and asked if he knew about it.
What? Had no idea. I'll check with my brother.
As Otto responded, I heard Briar returning from the shower, so I quickly asked him to text me the details instead, and hung up.
Making a phone call?
Oh, just letting Otto know so he won't be surprised when he gets home, I replied with a smile.
But Briar's response was unexpected, revealing her true colors.
Huh. You probably just want to get me out of here and ask Otto to do it, right? He's on my side, you know?
What are you talking about? I was stunned by the change in Briar's behavior, feeling as if even her appearance had altered.
I'll be staying for a while, so get used to it. Now hurry up and prepare dinner, Briar said. Bewildered, I quickly prepared individual dishes with what I had at home, placing the ready-made meal on a plate in the center of the table. As we began eating, Briar started a long lecture about how Otto, her beloved son, had always been more of a mama's boy than his brother, preferring her over me, and that I should not resist but obediently listen to her. To my dismay, she barely touched the dishes I prepared, and finished off the entire takeout meal herself. Then she made herself comfortable in front of the TV. With no sign of Otto returning soon, and our apartment only having a living room and a bedroom, I had no choice but to let Briar sleep in the living room.
Making your mother-in-law sleep on the hard floor of the living room while you take the bed. Modern wives are something else, she sneered.
I thought to myself that it was her sudden visit in the first place.
I'll lay out a mat for you, I replied with a smile, quickly took a shower and retreated to my bedroom, closing the door.
Taking a shower before your husband and going to bed first too? She muttered in the living room.
I read a message from Otto through the door thinking, what era does she think we live in? Otto had checked with his brother, and it turned out there had been a big fight between my sister-in-law and Briar. Given Briar's attitude, I couldn't help but feel a deep respect for my sister-in-law who had endured her for years. That's because I've been through a lot in the past few hours. Apparently my sister-in-law had threatened divorce if they didn't separate, causing Briar to storm out. Caught up in this sudden turmoil, I was at a loss. What will happen in the future? Briar had mentioned Otto being a mama's boy, which unsettled me. Because Otto had said, maybe there's been a misunderstanding between sister-in-law and mother-in-law. It's okay for families to fight sometimes. Unable to sleep due to my growing anxiety, I lay awake while Briar, probably exhausted from her journey, soon fell asleep, snoring loudly. Then I heard the entrance door. Otto, after finishing his shower, came into the bedroom. I told Otto I'd been waiting.
I've been waiting to talk to you, Otto, about Briar.
Hey, you're still up?
How can I sleep with all this going on?
I've always been a light sleeper, easily disturbed by the slightest noise, so Otto's nonchalant attitude was frustrating. Sorry, I'm just really tired.
Otto, who falls asleep within 3 seconds, unlike me, quickly drifted off.
I had work the next day, and wanted to discuss what to do about mother-in-law with Otto, who falls asleep within 3 seconds, unlike me, quickly drifted off. I sent him a message expressing my frustration, asking how to handle mother-in-law and what to do with the keys. Eventually I managed to fall asleep. The next morning, I woke up to find that Otto had already left for work, likely because he hadn't finished his work due to yesterday's situation with my mother-in-law. In the living room, I found breakfast prepared by mother-in-law.
Oh, sorry.
I felt uncomfortable seeing someone else use my kitchen. A sentiment I even held when my own parents visited. To make matters worse, my cherished cookware was burnt at the bottom.
Your husband is already off to work, and here you are, sleeping in, and not even taking care of kids. What do you even do all day? Sit down and eat.
I was at my limit with her barging into my life, constantly complaining and ruining my favorite pot.
I work every day, and I'm busy. I'm heading to work now.
She looked surprised at my response, probably not expecting any pushback.
I can't leave a guest in the house alone. Since you seem uncomfortable here, I think it's best if you leave today. Can you manage that?
I spoke calmly, But it dawned on her that she had been kicked out by sister-in-law and brother-in-law too. And her face showed a hint of frustration. She ate quietly, started packing, and I felt relieved. I left for work with a sense of triumph. I honestly won this time. That's what I thought. I arrived at the office feeling refreshed, but during lunch, I saw several missed calls from Otto.
What happened?
What do you mean, what happened? You insulted and kicked out my mom. I didn't think you would do something like this. She made breakfast and even a lunchbox for me. A few days wouldn't have hurt. You ganging up on my mom and bullying her? That's just wrong.
Otto was furious, having only heard my mother-in-law's side of the story. I tried to explain yesterday's events and the morning situation, but he wasn't supportive.
Just don't kick her out. She's staying with us for a while, okay?
Mother-in-law's smug face flashed in my mind. I hung up the phone, feeling hopeless. I had never seen Otto this angry before, and it was shocking that he wouldn't even listen to my side. When I got home, my mother-in-law was lounging around having made a mess. Apparently, Otto had called the management to let her in. She was smug and assertive, exhausted from work and the previous confrontation. I just wanted to rest, but mother-in-law couldn't care less about how I felt. You know your place now, don't you? Get cleaning, prepare the shower, and start on dinner. She then started watching TV. I had no energy left to resist. After preparing dinner and enduring mother-in-law's snide remarks throughout the meal, I went to bed early. Otto still not home. Days passed without a proper conversation with Otto. Each day I was woken up early, returned home to do chores and grew increasingly exhausted. Finally, a day came when Otto and I both had a day off. I thought I could finally talk, but when I woke up, they were already getting ready to leave.
Hey, you're up? Since it's your day off, Mom said she'd let you rest.
What?
We're going to try out a breakfast spot nearby. Mom's been doing all the cleaning and chores recently, right? You should be thankful.
It's fine. I'm just a guest staying here, after all. It's the least I can do.
Don't worry about it. You've been accommodating my sister-in-law all this time. Take it easy for now. I'll talk to my brother about it.
Otto and mother-in-law left the house amid such conversation. I was dumbfounded by their chummy act, but grateful for the chance to relax and recover physically and mentally. The next morning, I found our matching mugs, bought when Otto and I got married, shattered in the sink.
Oh, that? I thought it was an ugly cup and it just slipped from my hands. Toss it for me, will you?
I carefully wrapped the pieces and hid them in the bedroom, so mother-in-law wouldn't see. I held back my anger and despair. In the past month, my daily life had been shattered just like that cup. We had happy days, and even when things got tough, we always talked it out, even if we argued. Just as I was thinking this, I realized for the first time that I wasn't taking it seriously. Yes, we have always said what we wanted to say to each other and talked about it, but mother-in-law's words scared me, and I realized that we weren't talking.
Why have I been just following orders?
It was strange for me. Even if I wasn't confrontational, I usually expressed my opinions clearly. Maybe I wasn't acting like myself due to the constant exhaustion. I decided to talk to Otto outside of work and ambushed him at a cafe near his office. When he emerged, I called and asked him to come to the cafe. He was surprised but joined me immediately. When he emerged, I called and asked him to come to the cafe. He was surprised but joined me when I said I needed to talk seriously. I shared everything with Otto, but without evidence. His reaction wasn't what I had hoped for.
What? That's different from what Mom told me.
Don't you think something's off between us lately? Who do you think is telling the truth, me or Briar?
Otto seemed hesitant, but I showed him the broken cup.
This cup is like my heart and our relationship.
I said, looking down. Otto looked worried. Maybe because I seemed on the verge of tears and possibly concerned about the people around us.
Okay, I get it, but what should we do?
If you don't kick her out, I won't come back home.
Maybe there's just a misunderstanding. I mean, my brother and sister-in-law too. I wish we could all just get along.
I was frustrated by Otto's seemingly accusatory tone, but he was silent, seemingly deep in thought.
Just figure it out, okay?
I said, and left the cafe. Otto hurried after me, but I quickly went home and told him to handle it. The next day, Otto called to say he had sent mother-in-law back to her place. He talked to brother-in-law, who apologized for involving us, and agreed it was best for her to return for now. It seemed mother-in-law didn't resist much with Otto and even made plans to go on a picnic next week before leaving.
Picnic? I don't want to see her for a while.
I groaned. Otto's unilateral decision made me realize he hadn't understood my feelings.
I thought sending her home was the best for now, and I have a plan. A picnic with everyone, sharing good food, and a lunchbox. I think it'll help us get along again. His positivity was almost commendable, but I doubted things would go as smoothly as he hoped. Still, I asked, "Do you have a good idea?"
He explained enthusiastically, and reluctantly, I agreed to participate. On the day, we prepared early in the morning, and headed to the meeting place, where brother-in-law and his wife were already present, having left their kids with sister-in-law's parents.
Sorry, Katie, I didn't mean to involve you.
I assured her it wasn't her fault and commended her endurance in a similar situation. Mother-in-law had arrived first and secured a spot. Otto and brother-in-law went back to get the cooler box they had forgotten, thinking we wouldn't want to meet mother-in-law alone. "No, it's fine," I said, and went ahead to the picnic spot. Approaching mother-in-law, she started her usual snide remarks as soon as she realized it was just the two wives.
Just the wives who wanted me out, huh? Where are the sons?
They went to get drinks. This is just the appetizers.
I said as I placed the bag containing the food on the seat.
Okay, I'll see if there's anything you can eat before you two come. So spread it out.
But
I hesitated, knowing it would derail Otto's plan. But under mother-in-law's insistence, I opened the bag and neatly laid out the lunchboxes.
I had a bad feeling when you said appetizers.
is it not okay? We thought to make lunchboxes for the picnic.
Picnics are for meat. Bring steak? Cheaping out, huh? And what's with this messy omelet? No sense of taste at all.
As she criticized, a hand reached over mother-in-law's shoulder. It was Otto's hand reaching over mother-in-law's shoulder. His face looked like he was holding back tears. A mix of frustration and complexity. He silently began packing up the lunchboxes.
"Never invite me again, and don't come to our house."
What?
From our angle, we could see the men approaching. But mother-in-law hadn't noticed them yet. Realizing she had been overheard and seeing Otto's reaction, mother-in-law was shocked and grabbed at his feet in a panic.
Wait, I didn't mean it. Those were just words blurted out in response to their harsh comments. But you saw it, right? The eggs were a mess and the sausages were burnt.
Mother-in-law tried to appease Otto, but each word she said seemed to twist his face more. I decided it was enough and told her the truth.
Please just be quiet.
I said it calmly, but she either didn't hear or chose to ignore me, continuing her excuses. So I raised my voice a bit and addressed her directly.
Briar, the lunchboxes were made by Otto.
What?
It wasn't me. Otto made them hoping to reconcile everyone. Didn't you notice the contents? We've talked about it so many times.
Otto made the lunch?
Brother-in-law seemed startled, taking a box from Otto and inspecting its contents.
Same as that time, huh? You haven't changed. Making the same things from back then?
Realizing this, mother-in-law seemed to recall the contents and showed a look of realization.
"It's the same. I thought if we ate this and shared memories, maybe we could work things out. But I have someone I can't lose, and I should have believed Katie from the start."
Otto's words made mother-in-law start crying, but her apology was slightly misdirected.
Otto, I'm sorry. You worked so hard on it and
Not the point, I thought, and pulled out my phone. I had recorded all the calls and snide remarks mother-in-law had made to me before the picnic. With her behavior reaching a limit, I decided to play the recordings. Mother-in-law tried to drown out the recording with her crying.
This is a fake. That's not my voice.
She yelled in denial.
Aren't you going to apologize to me and sister-in-law?
I had hoped she would at least apologize to my sister-in-law, but mother-in-law's callousness exceeded our expectations.
You're not involved right now. I'm apologizing to Otto.
The person you should be apologizing to is different.
Otto sharply rebuked mother-in-law, who was stunned and speechless.
Let's go home. There's no reconciling with you, Mom. I'm disappointed in you. I'll pay for your moving expenses, but you need to leave.
Brother-in-law sighed in exasperation and took sister-in-law's hand.
I hoped you'd learn something living with Otto, but you just repeated your behavior.
With that sympathetic look, they left. Initially, sister-in-law didn't want to join the picnic, but I persuaded her, hoping it might lift her spirits. I wanted Otto and brother-in-law to see mother-in-law's true nature, especially since Otto was still half in doubt. If I had been able to record more of the conversation when Otto was gone, I would have played it at the end. But it turns out mother-in-law was even more inhuman than I thought.
Leave my house?
Mother-in-law was in disbelief.
No, that house was rebuilt in my brother's name. I can't believe you're like this, Mom.
Then I can stay with you, right, Otto? You're kind.
Her words, even in this context, were more appalling than angering.
That's impossible. All of it was lies. Katie was right all along. Who'd want to live with a liar?
Otto shook off her grasp.
I can't live alone. I can't.
If that worried you, why didn't you cherish the family who lived with you? It's your own doing. Maybe you should spend some time alone to think.
Mother-in-law fell silent at my words. Otto clearly wanted to leave.
Let's go, Otto. Back to our home.
He nodded silently, and we left, leaving mother-in-law alone on the large picnic sheet, immobile from shock. In the car, Otto attempted to discard the lunchboxes, but I stopped him.
I want to share this magical reconciliation lunch with you.
I'm really sorry, Katie.
Eventually, my brother-in-law stuck to his word, covering only mother-in-law's moving costs and firmly making her leave. Mother-in-law, with nowhere else to go, moved in with her sister, but due to her unchanging nature and attitude, she was soon asked to leave. Struggling to live on her pension alone, mother-in-law had to start working, frequently changing jobs due to her lack of experience and difficult personality. At one point, my desperate mother-in-law called my brother-in-law for help, but he refused. Though Otto was hurt by mother-in-law's true colors, he began to value me more, listening and making an effort to enjoy our time together. My sister-in-law and I grew closer, and our interactions with brother-in-law's family increased, often enjoying barbecues together. Spending time with their son made us realize our own desire to grow our family. We're expecting to become a family of 3 next year. I sometimes wonder if when our child grows up and brings someone home, they'll understand why mother-in-law acted the way she did towards us wives. The thought makes me anxious, but I'm focused on creating a home filled with smiles and happiness for our family of 3.